Are there contradictions in the Bible? No, but in this video I'm going to look at what a contradiction really is, because honestly, most of the ones that people bring up don't even fit the definition of a contradiction. Then I will go through the 5 most common so-called contradictions that atheists and Muslims bring up, so that you can know how you should respond to them. Make sure you watch to the end of the video to see which of these 5 so-called contradictions you've heard before. But before we delve in, please leave a like, drop a comment, follow our page, and share this video with others. Now let's dive right in. Firstly, what is a contradiction? It's where it says one thing over here and then the opposite thing over there, but it must be relating to the same time and spoken about in the same sense. For example, if I said this morning I ate cereal for breakfast, but then a bit later on today I said I did not eat cereal for breakfast this morning, that would be a contradiction, because I'm talking about the same time in the same sense about what I ate for breakfast, and one statement was negating the other. But if I said I ate cereal for breakfast this morning, and then later on today I said I ate toast for breakfast this morning, that isn't a contradiction because they can both be true. And that is if I ate both cereal and toast for breakfast, and I simply told you about one of the things I ate in my first event, and the other thing I ate in my second statement. It's not a contradiction because one did not negate the other. Now here are 5 common so-called contradictions in the Bible that people bring up. Number 1, how many angels were at the tomb? Matthew and Mark say an angel appeared at the tomb to the women, but Luke and John say that 2 angels appeared. Is that a contradiction? No, because one was not negating the other. Matthew and Mark were simply choosing to focus their attention on the one angel, but Luke and John were including more detail and recording about the other angel, who seemed to have a lesser role. It would only be a contradiction if it had said there were not 2 angels that appeared at the time. Only then would it be a contradiction. If I described that I also had peanut butter for breakfast this morning, am I contradicting my earlier statements about what I had for breakfast? No. I'm just being a bit more detailed now about what specifically I had on my toast. Differences like this actually show the historicity of the Bible, that the 4 gospel authors weren't just copying off each other, but they are independent accounts, so they are trustworthy. Number 2, how did Judas die? Matthew says that he returned the money he got for betraying Jesus and hung himself, while Acts said he acquired a field with the money and fell headlong and died. Again, this one doesn't contradict each other either. They line up. After Judas regretted betraying Jesus, Judas returned the money to the chief priest. But they said it was blood money, so they couldn't put the money back into the treasury. So they decided to buy a field in Judas's name, and that's why it says Judas acquired a field, because it's bought in his name. He then hung himself, and eventually the branch or rope snapped. Falling headlong just means he landed face down, as described in chapter 1. So again, no contradiction there. Number 3, who was the father of Joseph? Both Matthew and Luke helpfully record a genealogy of Jesus. It shows that Jesus is not a made-up person. You can trace this genealogy back to Abraham and even back to Adam. But in Matthew's account, it says Jacob was the father of Joseph, the husband of Mary, of whom Jesus was born. But in Luke, it says Jesus, when he began his ministry, was about 30 years of age, being the son, as was supposed, of Joseph, the son of Heli. But this too is very easily explained. Matthew's genealogy was of Joseph's side, while Luke's is of Mary's. That's why it doesn't list the same grandfather on both sides, because Mary and Joseph didn't have the same parents. Now, the reason why Mary's name isn't explicitly mentioned in Luke's genealogy is because Luke was following the Hebraic traditional form of genealogy by listing only the male names, in which Mary is represented by her husband's name. So again, there's no contradiction. Number 4, number differences in the Bible. This one relates to a number of passages in the Old Testament. For example, did Jehoiachin reign 3 months in Jerusalem, as 2 Kings says, or for 3 months and 10 days in Jerusalem, as 2 Chronicles says? This is clearly not a contradiction because one does not negate the other. Both are true. One is simply giving a more rounded number, while the other a more specific value. For example, if I said the time is 11:30, while my friend said the time is 11:32, are we contradicting each other? No. My friend was simply being a bit more specific than I was. When someone asks for the time, They usually just want to know approximately what the time is, not down to the exact minute or second. And this largely explains the number differences you may see in the Bible. Number 5. No one has ever seen God, but Jacob saw God. In John chapter 1 verse 18, it says, "No one has ever seen God." But in Genesis, we see Jacob wrestled with God, and afterwards Jacob said, "I have seen God face to face, and yet my life has been delivered." This is not a contradiction because they are talking about seeing God in two different senses. For example, if someone said, "I've never spoken at a school assembly before," a teacher might say, "I've seen you whisper to your friend during a school assembly before." But what the person meant was speaking in front of the school assembly, addressing all the students. They've never done that before. So when John says no one has ever seen God, he simply means in terms of seeing God in the fullness of his glory, since God dwells in unapproachable light. What Jacob saw was simply God dwelling temporarily in a human body. He didn't see God in his fullness. So once again, no contradiction. These are the 5 most common contradictions people bring up in the Bible. And as we've seen, not a single one of them is a valid contradiction. I've gone through lists of so-called contradictions that skeptics and critics brings up. And I can tell you that not a single one is a valid contradiction. The Bible once again stands up to scrutiny flawlessly. It's the most read book in the entire world. And so I recommend you get into the habit of reading it daily. Thank you for watching. We hope you learned something new today. God bless you. Amen.